And we're back with another video. Today we'll be playing some Amulet Haven. This is another deck that has quickly become one of the top decks in the meta right now. Because it's a very strong deck apparently. So we'll be seeing just how strong it is in this video. Amulet Haven in general is not really my field of expertise, so instead of me attempting to build my own deck, I guess, and just suffering horribly, I have net decked this deck from Japanese Haven main YouTuber Sakakibara, whose link to his video I will link in the video, in the description, and also in the top right information card thing if you didn't already see it, which it should be there by now. But yeah, so because this is not my list, I don't want to go too in depth about the card choices, and I just don't really want to just take whatever he says in his video and put it in my video, because that's obviously not like a thing I want to do. So instead I will be going through my experience with this deck and how I've been learning to play this deck, because this deck, unlike, well, compared to the other top deck Mono Blood, this deck is much more difficult to play in my opinion, at least. So I'm definitely not an expert at it or anything, and so I definitely cannot sit here and give you advice on how exactly to play this deck perfectly and on top tier. But I can give you some things I think are important and my approach to the deck, and you can take that, and if you find the deck interesting or fun, it's definitely a rewarding deck to play well because it's so difficult. If you find that interesting, you can take that and you can go and do your own playing and learn how to play the deck yourself. But for now, let's jump into what I think is important, which is learning how to win the game, because, well, this version of the list at least, you can see it's actually quite lacking in like actual damage. You have Angels of the Covenant's transmute form, which does damage, and you have Selina's Haven Fire, or it's not called Haven Fire, it's called Fiery Reproach now, but those are basically your only damage sources, and of course the Storm from Sanctum of Wings as well. But your damage sources are definitely limited in this deck, so it's important to figure out how you're going to win the games for this deck, because your damage sources are so limited. So yeah, with that being said, let's jump into some games where we can showcase some of the options you have. So for the first match, we have a game against Blood, probably Evil Blood, and we are going second here. So for the mulligan, we are just looking for cards that we can play early on to good effect, especially card draw amulets are generally valuable. What you keep in the early game for this deck, in my opinion at least, can depend heavily on what your opponent is. In the case of Evil Blood, we need a way to answer early game threats like the mechanical bat. So we are keeping Meowskers here as a cheap as a cheap rush we can use to hopefully clear the bat. If we let them keep the bat, they can play things like Blooming Dancer or Goodell, and that can really snowball them to a very early lethal, so we definitely want to avoid that as much as possible. So we do keep the Meowskers, and we have Orchids as well, which can either draw or we can use Plums to clear a follower. Here they play the Alpha here, we definitely don't want to leave that alive, so we're going to go ahead and use Orchids to clear the Plums. Another thing to mention is that Selina is pretty good to keep in the mulligan only when you're going second. Going second, she only costs 2 PP to play, so she's definitely a very strong card in that sense. But going first, she's a bit harder to find room to play, because you're generally going to be aiming towards your Amulet condition instead. Here my opponent plays the Ruins of Iolan, so we're gonna go ahead and just land down some amulets. Be very careful about board locking yourself with your own amulets. In this case, I know that Mums will be popping next turn, so I will have space to work with next turn, so I'm fine with that, but be careful with that, because even if I do have Meowskers here, which they could clear, they could just ignore it and try to board lock me instead. And if this Mums didn't pop, then I would have board locked myself. In this case, they didn't bother trying to do that, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and clear our Meowskers. We're gonna go ahead and pop the Netheran Great Tree. The Netheran Great Tree is a great engine for helping you clear amulets in this game. Now that now that we have an amulet, we have like an amulet deck with Netheran Great Tree. So yeah, these are our amulets, and it's a new card, so we're definitely using that. Because we have already popped Mums earlier this time, we can go ahead and play the Angels of the Covenant to accelerate an amulet. In terms of Sanctum of Wings, we might be able to set up something later on if we high roll hard enough. So for now, we are just going to accelerate the Fountain of Tranquility and try to get to our draw as soon as we can. You can see we are at 3 amulets destroyed now. With these two, we're at 5, so we're a bit far, but we'll see how we can get to a lethal at some point. The opponent's playing another bat and evolving the Assembly Droid, and there we can see them evolve the Goodell. And fortunately for us, they aren't able to clear the Selena here because the mechanical bed doesn't evolve for enough stats. So we keep our Selena alive. And then we have nothing to do here. We're going to go ahead and use the angel to pop the amulets. We can draw and make board space for ourselves to play cards. We're just going to go ahead and play one amulet here. If we look at our amulets destroyed now, we are at 4, which is definitely a bit far from lethal, but we shall see. So there's the Hyperdomic Devil here. It's going to heal them up. So the damage that we managed to chip from keeping our Selena alive, well, unfortunately, we'll just lose it to, well, they play Gadel, so I guess we're losing it to Gadel instead. And there's their Leon and Alfie, which they are going to use to protect their face. So definitely annoying Leon and Alfie here, but we can actually clear that because of the power of Shining Prayers. So we're gonna go ahead and we can go ahead and banish it with Wishing Chalice as well, since Leon and Alfie is not immune to banish. This is another good thing about this deck, Amulet Haven in particular. I think banishes allows you to clear Leon and Alfie. And then we go ahead and play another Selena here, because we have the space and she'll only play for 2 PP, so we can do that. And then now we are at 4 amulets destroyed. These 2 will pop, which puts us at 4 next turn, so we should be able to do something here. Our opponent is at 6 evils, but with Selena in the way, they shouldn't be able to OTK us, even with mono. Well, actually, Leon and Alfie mono would probably kill us, but that's a pretty high roll, so hopefully they don't have it, and looks like they don't. So they're going to play another Magical Devil, and then we're going to play the Gadel, and there's the second Leon and Alfie, which they are going to use to stop us from killing them. So we are definitely hoping our it will make us in the game a lot easier if our amulet hit the assembly droid here, but unfortunately it didn't. So we're gonna go ahead and try to snipe that droid with Haven Fire, and we do get it. Important note here. Okay, I should play this. So important note, I destroyed the tree before playing the Sanctum of Wings, and there's an important point here, because if I played the wings, then the tree would destroy that tree by itself, right? And that is usually what you want to do, but in this case, if we count our damage, we had 4 Haven Fires, which is 16 damage, plus Regal Falcon Regal Falcon, which is another 5 damage, so we do have lethal here, but we need to make sure we have enough amulets, so we need to destroy 5 amulets, because we need 5 Haven Fires, plus in order to get Leon and Alfie out of the way, we need Shining Prayer. So the 4 Haven Fires will cost us, we count it will cost us 4 PP, so we have 3 PP left to work with for summoning amulets that we can use. And if we played the Sanctum of Wings here and destroyed the Neteran World Tree, we wouldn't actually have enough amulets anymore, so that's why we did it that way. We're going to play the Haven Fire here. I'm just going to call it Haven Fire, I'm sorry, I know it's called Fire Reproach, but I'm just used to calling it Haven Fire. And then we have just enough PP here to slam down Orchids and play Shining Prayer on the Orchids. So this is definitely a play that you wouldn't be able to do if you played the Shining Sanctum before destroying the tree. So yeah, definitely watch out for cases like this. Make sure to count and make sure you have enough amulets to destroy, because these cards actually require to destroy amulets to work. So it's not something that was in the previous versions of Amulet Haven, so keep note of that. So anyway, this is going to be lethal. So this is one way we can get lethal, which is a pretty high roll combo deck. So let's move on to the next game. So for our next game, we are going against Dragon, and this time we are going first. It could be buff or it could be nature, both are reasonable. Last game we saw that if you high roll hard enough, you can just Haven Fire people to death, but obviously you can't do that every game, so hopefully we can see some other options for trying to win games with this deck that aren't as high roll required. So we're gonna go ahead and keep our early game amulets here. We pick up Selena here. We're gonna have to find some room to play her at some point. It's gonna be a bit difficult. But for now, we are just going to advance our amulet condition, and we did say this is going to be buff Dragon here. Pretty annoying deck that was top of the meta for a long time. We don't know if it's going to be top now. So far, it doesn't look like it's the top anymore, but we'll have to see. So we go ahead and play our Font. Playing Font early on is very important because well, you need to pop it as soon as possible. We don't have as many evils as like the evil dedicated deck, so Fount won't actually be able to discount itself that much in terms of countdown, so we need to play early on to get some value out of it. And then we go ahead and play the Wings of Friendship here. In this deck in particular, like a lot of the time you just play it and you intentionally avoid discarding a 5 cost or more follower, because keeping this at 1 countdown makes it much easier to destroy, and in this case your goal is to destroy Amulet, so that's worth noting for Wings of Friendship here. I tossed the Sanctum of the Wings back in the deck because I don't really see a reason to play it early on. We rather find more draw in this early game and quickly reach our Amulet condition so that we can use the Angels of the Covenant. So we're gonna go ahead and draw some cards here. We got a Naturan piece, so we're gonna go ahead and use that to start drawing. We could use Wishing Chalice to clear the Megalorca Rider here, but there's really no point in doing that. Now here I could have played a Naturan piece, but there's no reason to play it now. I'd rather accelerate the Fountain of Tranquility and get towards our draw as soon as possible. Usually if we can, we want to try to hit 10 amulets by turn 6, so this is why by putting this at a countdown of 2, we can pop it on turn 6, which will make it more reliable that way, I guess. We're at 4 amulets destroyed. For Amalskers, generally you want to play him for his 5 amulet fanfare. Plus, so you can get the evil points out of it. Evil points are pretty valuable in this deck because of Selena. Both to have the evil point advantage so Selena can discount herself, as well as just to have the evil points that evolve Selena in general. We're gonna go ahead and toss the Wishing Chalice here. We don't really want to keep the Wishing Chalice over any of these cards in our hand right now. Shining Prayer is pretty important to keep. It's a great removal tool. If you look at our Amulets destroyed, we are at 6, 7. We're at 6 with these 2 destroyed. Our opponent's playing a bunch of followers here. Thankfully, no Joe yet. Really, playing against Bath Dragon is a matter of how soon their Joe comes out, and you definitely have to watch out for that. So we do have a pretty wide board here. We're going to go ahead and draw some cards. Fortunately, we do mill the Meowskers there, which we didn't really want to do. We'll go ahead and play the Meowskers here. If you look at our Amulets destroyed, we don't quite have enough for the Angels yet, so we're going to play the Inquisition now while it still gets discounted. Then we're going to use the Angels to pop the Amulet, and we can go ahead and banish one of these followers and just clear the Dion here and keep the Angels and return it to our hand. So here we are at 8 Amulets destroyed, so with this popping next turn we will be at 9, and then we can use Shining Prayer to pop the Natural World Tree, so then that will be fine. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and just pass here. We don't want to pop the Natural piece because that will cause us to overdraw, and throwing Fiery Approach now would be a waste since it's not gonna be at 10 amulets yet. So they do play the Grand Slam here, so Grand Slam here shows no Joe, so that's good for us. And there's the Striker as well, so we're gonna take a ton of damage here, but that's fine. So we are going to go ahead and pop one random follower. For this deck in particular, this was not a problem if you were playing Amulet in the last expansion, or rather the last 2 expansions, I guess. But now it becomes a problem, so you have to pay attention to this. The Amulet with different names destroyed tab you need to pay attention to, because if you rely too much on Natural World Tree to reach a 10 Amulet destroyed condition, you might not have amulets that the Seraph can actually summon. So in this case we do have enough, so that's fine. Just pay attention to that. So we go ahead and get rid of the World Tree here just to make space so we can summon the full board for Angels. Since the World Tree doesn't have a countdown, the Angels will not give it the last word, so keep that in mind. And then the standard combo from Amulet Haven since before, we are going to use the Holy Serpent's Blessing here, which will give us which will make the Angels of the Seraph of the Truki untargetable here. And then make sure we count how many cards we're gonna draw here. In this case, we are gonna draw 2 cards at the end of the turn and then draw 1 more card. So if we pop this Naturan piece here, we will overdraw, so we're gonna avoid doing that. We're gonna go ahead and trade a follower here. And then buff our Seraph up. And here my opponent is playing Tarask. I guess that's their replacement since Drazel rotated out. And there's their Joe, which is going to do a bunch of damage, but the Seraph will just heal us back up, so that's fine. So you do clear my Seraph here, we're gonna pop our amulets and we're gonna heal up for a nice 8 health and deal 8 damage to their face. And there's the Dragonborn Striker from them to, I guess, chip in a bit more. So we do pick up the Maskers here, which means we can recover EO points, but unfortunately if we had another Selena, this might have been lethal. But we only have 2 Haven Fires at present, and Sanctum of the Wings is only well, yeah, it's very, very, very unlikely to reach lethal here. It is technically possible because we can use Meowskers to recover an EO point, and then use Sanctum of the Wings, and then pop 2 Fiery Reproaches. And then if we manage to snipe the Tarask with the Shining Prayers, then it is lethal, but that's very risky, so I'm not gonna risk it here. We are pretty sure we can survive next turn. Aside from Joe, most of Buff Dragon's damage is from Storm. I guess there's also have Tarask, so as long as we heal out of range of Tarask and Joe's fanfares, we are very, very safe, I think, against buff. So we're gonna go ahead and just do that. We do leave a bunch of followers on their board, but they have to use most of them to trade anyway, so we don't really care. There's then Tarask here, which is gonna hit us in the face for a nice 7 damage. And then they're gonna go ahead and trade off their followers into our Seraph here, which will pop all our amulets, heal us back up, and also deal a ton of damage to them. And then put them at 4, so now our Haven Fire is lethal. So for me personally, this is, I think, the most likely way that you are gonna end games as Amulet Haven, especially against decks with buff that have very limited healing, not like they don't have Draziel anymore. Using Seraph to chip them down while they have to answer it. The Seraph is both protective and defensive, right? It will protect you from their offensive pressure as well as heal you up and chip a bunch of damage from them. And then after that, you can use Fiery Reproach to finish them off. So that is how I find that a lot of Haven games with this deck are finished. So let's move on to the next game for some other possible game plans. So for our last game for today, we are going second against Haven. I mean, it could be Lena as well, but I think it's most likely the mirror match nowadays, just because I mean, it's one of the D-top decks, so people are gonna be playing it. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and mulligan for early game plays. Netherine Peace is fine early game as well. It helps you. It's pretty fast amulet count. So we're gonna go ahead and just pop the Netherine Peace here. And use it later on for trees, and there's our opponent's Sanctum of Wings. And then on our turn, we're just gonna go ahead and play Orchids just to draw cards, because we want to get our amulet condition going as fast as possible. We pick up the Selena, which is very, very good. Because we're going second, we have that advantage going for us. Opponent plays out another Sanctum of Wings, so definitely have to watch out for these storms coming out. In this case, we don't really have much to do, so we're gonna go ahead and just use the trees. That's probably fine. You could play Angels of the Covenant to pop the Bam Beauties, actually. I don't really think there's any reason to do it or not to do it. There's not much difference, to be honest with you. So I guess I just chose not to. Well, actually, if you... Actually, not playing it allows it to pop this turn, so you can use it for another amulet this turn if you want. So we go ahead and play the Selenas here. Put on the Fount. Unfortunately, we have to play the Fount before evolving Selena, or else we will mill the Fiery Approach that we are trying to add to our hand. Then we can go ahead and use the Angels. Since we kept the Orchids earlier, we can, or rather the Bam Beauties, we can use the, which popped early this time, we can use the Angels without worrying about losing it. And then we go ahead and just fuse one of the Halls of Inquisition here, because A, it's pretty useless against Haven, and B, we just need to make hand space. So there's the Natural World Tree from them, and they're gonna go ahead and reduce the counter of their amulets here, and gonna hit summon the Regal Falcon and use the Shining Prayer to summon another Regal Falcon and just pressure me in the face. Surprisingly, this can actually work nowadays. So this is another way my opponent is showing. So this is a good thing about having a mirror match, right? Is that you can look at my opponent's place and learn things from that too. So this is actually a way that Haven can win games, and against Haven Mirror, I think it's particularly effective to just pressure face before your opponent gets their condition active. And now your opponent has to spend, now your opponent, which is me in this case, has to spend their turn answering your pressure, which slows down their amulet count, which allows my opponent to get advantage that way. So here we are forced to use the Angels of Covenant to clear these two Regal Falcons so we don't take damage too much, because we are already down to 12. And unfortunately, because of that, we are only at 3 amulets to destroy, which is definitely very slow. Meanwhile, our opponent is able to play their Meowskers here, as well as a Holy Serpent's Blessing, so they are definitely well on their way to completing their condition. So unfortunately we don't have a way to banish that, although I wouldn't think it will make much difference, so we're just gonna go ahead and try to accelerate our Amulet condition as quickly as we can. We put it on the Hall of Inquisition here so that we can pop it next time to clear something. And my opponent is already at 10 amulets destroyed, so they are just fusing a card to activate the Seraph, and then they're gonna go ahead and play their Selena. They do have more evil points than me as well, because I was forced to use it to clear that board. And they're gonna go ahead and pick up the Selena here, play on the Garuda as well. So they are probably setting up for a big turn next turn. There's another thing my opponent is doing that's important. If you can't pressure your opponent down as Amulet Haven, your next best option is to try and set up for a big OTK. Because it's unlikely that you're gonna get Seraph off, because Haven has ways to banish Seraph. So Amulet Haven's Seraph's worst enemy is an enemy Amulet Haven. So it's not good to rely on the Seraph too much in this matchup in particular. So my opponent is probably trying to set up an OTK, so they are saving those Haven Fires in hand or Fire Reproach in hand. So yeah, definitely one of the definitely a good way to approach the matchup if you are not able to pressure them down phase early enough. So we go ahead and trade the Meowskers in, which will get our amulet count destroyed. And you go ahead and use the Seraph to destroy their followers. We can use the second one to destroy another follower. Pick up the Seraph, pick up the Selena as well, so if my opponent spends an equal point next time I can play her for cheap. And hopefully cheese a lethal out that way. And then we're gonna go ahead and use the Wings of Friendship here to make sure we draw enough cards so that we can try to find lethal next turn. Okay, my amulets destroyed, we have enough, so we should be able to summon things off the Seraph as well, so that's good. I actually do overdraw here, so I definitely should have fused something into the angels here, so that was a misplay on my part, although it's maybe not a big deal. Unfortunately, we don't actually have a way to banish the well, we do have a way to banish it actually. Sorry, I'm an idiot. We do have a way to banish. We have the so we pick out, oh, I fused the one card I had to banish this way. I'm actually an idiot. Oops. Oh no, I couldn't banish it, it's not targetable. Okay, never mind, I'm not an idiot. So we do need to clear that. And just we're gonna go ahead and use our own Seraph here to protect ourselves. I was betting on the chance that a Holy Serpent's Blessing would be summoned off this Seraph so that we can pop that. So that's what we're gonna do. We put a bit of damage to their face, but they're gonna heal it back up, so it doesn't matter. But we do pop the Seraph while putting at one of our own, so hopefully they can't banish this one. We'll play the Selena here, which is fine. They do have the evil point advantage, so they will recover the play points there. And they evolve the Selena here. So there's the Fire Reproach from them, and then Mark Overcome. So this is a card that's run in some lists that we can talk about later after this game. So there's the Sanctum of the Wings from them. And we know they have a ton of Haven Fires in their hand. So there's another Haven Fire from them. One more Haven Fire. So unfortunately, my Hall of the Inquisition there hit Selena. If it hit one of these, I would have survived this turn, but since it didn't hit one of these, I am dead. They have exact lethal here with this, so I die. So there is showing off their game plan, I guess. There's more to learn from opponents, so this is one more way to win matchups. This is probably especially effective against Haven matchups, as well as matchups with a ton of healing, is aiming for an OTK, saving up the pieces. This is probably the hardest one to accomplish, because there is no like reliable, like guaranteed, oh, just do this, and you will reach OTKs for this deck. This deck, you have to actually find the OTK, so yeah, just keep that in mind when you are playing this deck. So yeah, this is my opponent finishing off with Haven Fire, and that's the end of this game. So those are the games I have for you for this video. Maybe my play wasn't perfect and you have spotted some mistakes, but hopefully this gave you some idea at least on how to approach playing this deck, and how to, importantly, I guess most importantly, win games with this deck, which is very stupid to say out loud, but it's definitely important to think about because it's not as obvious as it may seem. It's a very non-linear deck definitely, so it's very important to know your game plan and adapt to what you draw and figure out how you're gonna win the game for this deck in particular. So definitely a challenging deck to pick up, but again, it's one of the strongest decks in the meta right now, so it's definitely rewarding to learn it because it's very strong and has a lot of tools as well. As part of being a non-linear deck, it also can do a lot of things. So as I mentioned earlier before, and this list in particular has very limited damage options with only Selena, Sanctum of Wings, and the Seraph of the Covenant. So because of this, there are variant lists running around as well. You saw earlier my opponent was playing the Mark Overcome is the card, which sounds like a very silly name, but as another damage option, because this deck does in fact summon quite a decent amount of 5 cost and above followers. In fact, there is also Lena versions of this deck that are playable if you want to look into that yourself. So yeah, if you are interested in playing Amulet Haven, trying out the variants and seeing how they work for you, feel free to go and look it up yourself. Hopefully this gives you some idea of how Amulet works, so if it looks fun for you, definitely pick it up and try it out. It's worth learning, I think, if you think it's fun, because it's also a very strong deck and not really anything can go wrong. I mean, it's not like any of these cards are gonna rotate out next expansion or anything, right? So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.